Hey folks, welcome back to Failure at Retirement. So today we've got a little shop project going on, and this one is really kind of for my tool guys. Everybody's welcome to watch, of course. So I'm going to show you here in a few seconds what I got going on, explain the hows and whys, and we'll go from there. I'm kind of jazzed about this actually. Something that's been on my mind for a little bit, and just recently just kind of figured, you know what, I'm just going to do this myself. So story of my whole entire life right there in a nutshell. And so let me turn the camera around and I'll show you. Hang on. All right, so here we go. You're probably asking yourself, what in the world are we looking at here? So what we have is some vintage Craftsman breaker bars. They all have a hole on the end. This one is actually like early 50s, where the hole was over here on the side for some reason I really can't make any sense of, to be honest with you. And then what you have, the later ones were like this with the hole in the top. That's a 1/4 and a 3/8. This one here is a 1/2 inch. So what you have is they all came with this rod. This hole's a little dirty inside. Of course, that one doesn't want to fit. I will try to insert a catalog picture here and show you that these rods were in the catalog in the sets with the tools. Okay, so let me get a different one. Here's the little 1/4 inch. This is the 1/4 inch rod that these came from. I don't know if you can see, there's a little ball bearing there on the end. That just keeps it from going all the way through. These rods just went through that hole there. And I guess they kind of maybe give a guy a little more grip out on the very end, maybe if you hold it kind of like that. Or maybe if you're standing it up on end, using it like this, you can spin it maybe. It's about the only thing I can figure these rods were good for. And then every once in a while, I've realized here lately, you'll come across a big socket, or a socket that has a big hole in the end. And that, I believe, also was for sticking these rods in. Well, as you can imagine, these rods I don't think ever really got used a whole bunch. I can tell you for a fact that I've never used one. I never had one until recently. This set of 3 that I'm showing here, I actually picked up at an estate sale. I don't know when it was. Maybe fall of 24, somewhere in there. So these rods are very, very difficult to find. They got lost a lot. I think they got thrown away a lot. I think when people are cleaning up for the estate sale, if they're there, they may just throw them away, not knowing what they are. Maybe, don't know for sure. Hard to find. Guy's been looking for some for a while, especially once I found this one set. But I only have this set of 3, and I think another one that came with that big 1/4 inch set that I have. So the guy's been kind of keeping his eye out, looked on eBay. These things bring a ridiculous amount of money on eBay. Like usually over $100 for the rod. It's actually cheaper, I think, in some cases for a guy to buy a breaker bar with the rod on eBay. For whatever reason, it goes cheaper that way, a little bit, not a lot. I'm kind of against buying eBay stuff, to be perfectly honest with everyone, especially tools. Tools are heavy, freight's expensive. Sometimes the freight is more money than the actual tool, in my opinion. So I try to avoid that. So what are we going to do? So I went in the jungle and I got me some stainless rods and got me a pack of ball bearings with the correct sizes. So if you'll follow me over to the shop, I'm going to see if I can countersink little holes in the ends of these rods and put those ball bearings in there and either peen them in there like original or maybe just JB weld them in there. And then because I don't want to mix up my original rods with my homemade ones, I'm going to try to mark them somehow. Not 100% sure how yet. I'll try to mark them so I can tell them apart. I don't want to be accused of making something that's not original and then whatever, right? So that's the plan. Follow along with me over the shop like you have a choice. I guess you could turn it off. We're going to see how this goes. Drilling this stainless rod. Not going to be super easy, but hopefully it's something we can pull off. I'll be right back with you. Okay folks, sorry you're only seeing part of my face. So what I did, I decided to start on the bigger ones for the 1/2 inch drive first. Took the rod and I put a little Sharpie here on the end. Let's see if I can get that to focus maybe. I measured off of my original one the distance from the end, scribed that, center punched it, and then I'm just using my dad's old companion drill press that he left me. Nothing fancy about that at all, but I did get these bits from the jungle. They're called Drill Force. No sponsorship or anything. Anyway, it's just a cobalt stubby drill. So I'll show you here in a minute. I'm going to switch the footage around a little bit, but I've drilled one already. Actually, I've drilled two already. I drilled one to kind of make sure my setup was right. So it's already got the ball bearing in the end there. So I want to make sure I had my setup right, and I made me a little depth gauge you probably saw me use. So those are for the 1/2 inch. I'm going to go ahead and drill this one now. I didn't mention it before, but I mostly, so I have quite a few breaker bars that don't have these little rods, especially in 1/4 inch. I have several of those little 1/4 inch sets that I've gathered up in the last few months that I've shown you before, but I think all but one of them is missing the rod, and so I need, well, I'm wanting, I don't need it, first world problems. I'm wanting to go ahead and make all 3 sizes, 1/4, 3/8, 1/2. I need, right now at the moment, need quite a few more 1/4 inch. But I started on the 1/2 inch, only need a couple of those. I can only make one per rod, and I only got 3 rods to start with. Just started on the big one, even though I don't need as many, because things are a lot easier to see for these old eyes. So I'll drill one more, I'll film that, and then we'll call it a day. I think it's getting hot here. So hang on, I'll move the camera. All right, folks, before I cut back to the ending, I thought I would just show you the finished product. So as you can see, there's a few extra quarters here, but I think almost every one of those 1/4 inch sets I've shown you is missing that rod. And then I'm already short a couple of 3/8, and I used all the half that I had. Don't think I have another 1/2 inch breaker bar, but I probably need to make a couple more halves. Definitely a few more 3/8. Anyway, I just thought I'd show you the finished deal, and now we'll go back to the outro. Thanks. Okay, all 3 1/2 inch rods drilled for the ball bearing. I'll have to double check the depth, and I'll have to cut them to length. If you're wondering, so I don't know if you'll see it in the time-lapse video I made, but I used some oil, cutting oil, not sponsored by them, Rapid Tap, best for stainless. Stainless, you have to be really careful with it. If you get any heat going when you're drilling or anything like that, it can easily work harden on you. And that means basically you reach a point where the more you try to drill it, the harder it gets. So that's why, if you can see it in the time lapse, I took my time and took a whole bunch of little bites, whole bunch of little nibbles, instead of trying to drill hard and fast. So sometimes it's advantageous to drill faster and get the chips and the heat out of there. With stainless, not so much. You do not want that to work harden on you, because it gets very difficult at that point. So I think I about got these made. I don't think you need to see me cut them to length. So anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching. Appreciate all of your comments. And we'll see you next time on Failure at Retirement. Have a good day.